whole thing. Jason Nathanson, ABC News correspondent. Good morning, Jason. How are you?
Hey, good morning. What a trip down memory lane that was last night.
See, it was 4 hours or actually condensed into 30 seconds. Can we take a moment and give Henry Winkler his due after all these years?
Absolutely. 42 years ago, that's when he was nominated for his first Emmy. He's had 6 Emmy nominations since then in total. The first one was for, of course, playing Fonzie on Happy Days, Best Actor in a Comedy. He never won in 42 years, and finally he gets on this kind of obscure, quirky HBO comedy, Barry, and he takes the whole thing. He finally wins after 42 years, and he had a great line about it. The friend told him that if you sit at the table long enough, the chips will all come your way, and he cleared the table last night.
Yeah, good for him. Who won overall? What network, what website won the most Emmys?
Well, yeah, website. AOL.com won the most awards last night. No, it was HBO tied with Netflix with 23 total. So that's if you count the Creative Arts Emmys that were held last weekend and last night. Netflix went into the night with the most nominations in total, but they ended up tying. And what's got to really stick in Netflix's craw now, last night, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel won for Best Comedy. That's an Amazon show. It's the first time a streaming network has ever won that. Last year, Hulu won for Best Drama with The Handmaid's Tale, the first time a streaming network has ever won that. Netflix keeps racking up these awards, but it can't win these big categories. So it's got to be pretty upset about that. It gets pretty snubbed when it comes to a lot of those things. But the big winner overall last night was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel with 5 awards, including Best Comedy, Best Actress for Rachel Brosnahan, or however she was announced in there. That's got to suck when you win an Emmy and they get your name wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, they didn't have to. I mean, come on, man.
All they had to do was say the name.
You're a presenter. You should know the names of the 5 people you might mention.
You know what? One of the things they did a little bit differently this time is they presented the names of the people who won. They did that in a video package before every presenter came out. They kind of flipped that.
You mean the nomination?
Yeah, they did the nominations with a voiceover.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the presenter wasn't listening to that package, they were probably walking on stage and stuff like that. They didn't have to say it themselves. Mm-hmm. It was said in a voiceover. So when they open that thing, it's probably the first time they're actually, having to say it. But still, they got that wrong. Merritt Weaver, who also won, they got her name wrong. So that's gonna kind of suck. But you won the Emmy, so.
But can we say that The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the worst part of that show is the name? Otherwise, it is a fantastic show.
It is, it is a bad name. And it was gonna win either that or Atlanta. It was interesting last night when it came to the shows that won. There are a lot of shows right now which are kind of reflecting society, reflecting race, diversity, things that are going on with fears and things like that. Handmaid's Tale, Atlanta, Insecure on HBO, some very topical shows, but none of the topical shows actually won. Game of Thrones, a total fantasy, won for Best Drama. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is, it's about women empowerment, sure, but it's set in the 50s in New York, and it's kind of something we've seen before, an era we've seen before. So when it came to the winners, the Emmy voters went more with kind of the safe stuff.
Yeah.
And the 3 networks didn't really do that well at all, did they?
No, and I mean, that's been the case for quite a while now, is that they don't do well. Michael Che had a joke about that. Welcome to the nursing homes across the country who are actually watching the show. And then Lorne Michaels reminded us, though, the head of Saturday Night Live, when Saturday Night Live won for Best Variety or Sketch Show, he came out and said, look, in 1975 when we started with SNL, people were writing articles then about the death of the networks, that the networks were going away. And here we are in 2018, we won for Best Variety Sketch Show, and the show was actually on NBC. So the networks aren't going away anytime soon, but when it comes to actual critical acclaim and winning awards, they haven't done that for a year.
Can we also mention that it ended 1 minute past 10 o'clock?
I mean, good for them. They kept this thing on time, which is one of the best things you could say about the show, which was otherwise a snoozer of a show. I mean, the best moment of the whole night was a proposal, was something that you see happen like at a basketball game, not usually at the Emmys, it was a fantastic moment. Glenn Weiss, who was the director for the Oscars, he won for directing the Oscars. and he got out there and proposed to his girlfriend, and that was a great moment. But otherwise, there wasn't a whole lot of standout stuff. And, people stayed away from politics for the most part. Remember last year at the Emmys, Stephen Colbert brought out Sean Spicer. Remember that moment? Everybody was talking about that afterwards. Right. This year, as far as I know, President Trump's name was not mentioned once during the telecast. So they stayed away from a lot of those hot-button issues.
Yeah. Jason Nathanson, get some sleep. We'll talk to you on Friday. Thanks for checking in.
Thanks.